Good morning, everybody. All right, you're awake. This is good. I've had 22 cups of coffee, so you're going to have to keep up with me. I am so excited to be here at Net Impact. In fact, I would have to admit to you that I am excited to be anywhere other than Washington, D.C. You know, I have spent virtually my whole life in government, and I am incredibly proud of the work I did. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. All I wanted to do was my life was make a difference in the world. And I am so excited to be here with people that share that passion. You know, when I left public service on January 20th, 2017 at noontime, I decided to go to Harvard. I decided it was real close to me, and what I really wanted to do was sort of take a breather and figure out, after 35 years in government, what do I do next? Where is a place for me to continue to make a difference? And I went to Harvard not just because it was close to home, but because I had an experience and an opportunity to work with the students. I have to say, I was totally blown away by young people, which is why I am here, because I am amazed at the inherent sense of equity and social justice. I find that it is unmatched, and I argue with all the people from my generation about this because they're mad at me, because they think they were best, and frankly, I don't think they were best. I think that people today and young people today actually have an understanding that we are living in a world where communities have been left behind. And it's time to stop that. All around the world, and even in the United States, change has to happen. We have to learn, and we have to engage with people. We have to create sustainable economic growth and build a more environmentally and just society. If not, then why are we here? That is what we all care about. And how can anyone still be blind to the fact that climate change is the most significant threat to our health, our economy, our planet, our national security, and our children? As President Obama said, we are the first generation to feel the impacts of climate change, and we are the last with the capacity to do something about it. In the United States, you know, we don't stand on the sideline. I don't care what this administration says. We pay attention to science. We don't run away from our challenges or wait around for Washington to protect us. Honestly, the last to act is usually Washington, D.C., and that's after community groups, grassroots organizations, nonprofits, all of the folks that are closest to the threats always take action first. And as we all know, pollution leaks its way down and hits those most vulnerable. That's why we're all together. That's why we're here, to speak for those who don't have the power to speak for themselves, and to change the way the world works so that they get equal justice and we all get equal pay. I'm sick and tired of it, as you are. So, when folks in Washington do not lead, when they don't have a plan to move forward, or even worse, when their plan is to pretend that we can go back to the future and make things happen, it's up to us. We have to step up and we have to do something. Now look, I know that for me, everything I worked on over the past 8 years feels like it's at risk. That's because it is. We made lots of progress on pollution that has really literally saved thousands of lives every year for decades at EPA, and all of that is under attack. And you all heard the Rose Garden announcement when the president said, we're withdrawing from the Paris Agreement. You know, that little agreement that every country in the world has signed on to, except apparently the United States doesn't like it anymore. But we all know that you can't go backwards to go forward. And I am absolutely refusing to sit around being angry and anxious all the time. And you should too. I wake up every morning with my husband watching MSNBC and screaming about the latest tweet storm. So with all love and affection, I tell him, we've been married for 38 years, but will you shut up? I'm sick and tired of it. Yes, we are living in what I call technically crazy-ass times. But you gotta stop acting like a crazy ass every morning. Look it, with every change that we're seeing today, opportunity is there for us to grab. Now is the time to seize this moment and to turn the absolute chaos of the day into actions that will strengthen our democracy, empower the powerless, build healthier communities today, and a more sustainable and just tomorrow. I am not going to be a dead woman walking just because my stuff is on the chopping block. I am going to be hopeful. I'm going to be energized. You know why? Because I choose to be. Because nobody follows losers. All right, you've heard about all the rollbacks. Well, don't be fooled. It takes more than an announcement and more than a proposal to actually make anything happen. And we did all of our rules right. They are fighting them in court. They are losing consistently because they don't do government, they don't do public process, they don't follow science, and they don't do the laws. So don't get sucked into the vortex of thinking everything everybody did that was great is now no longer around, because it is. We did it right, and they're going to stick. So relax, relax. Don't let people tell you that the world is going to hell in a handbasket. That was my mother's favorite saying. Nobody knows what a handbasket is. It's the destination, not the vehicle. In that case, that's important. Listen, climate change isn't something you can ignore. We're seeing it, we're feeling it all the time. And the science isn't really that complicated. So you need to repeat after me. Right? It boils down into 3 simple facts. Number 1, repeat after me. Climate change is real. Man-made emissions are causing it. That's why women need to rule the world. Repeat that after me. Look at how many women are running for office. Isn't it about time? Get out and vote. Look it, we all know we don't have to sacrifice a healthy economy for a healthy environment. We have market-winning strategies. I don't care what they're saying about the Clean Power Plan. We are kicking ass with renewable energy and energy efficiency. For the first time in decades, we are no longer being complacent, waiting for the federal government to act. We're doing it at the local level. We're doing it with mayors, and we're doing it with the business sector. So if you are looking for opportunities, think about the public service. Think about running to office and thinking about all the good people at every level of government that try and work hard to make a difference every day. People come up to me and they ask me, oh, should I work for the federal government? Oh. I'm like, yeah, you should work for them. That's where things happen. But work at the local level. Work with local nonprofits. Remind people of the core values that brought us together. Stop thinking about the issues we have as being divisive and bring people together. Work at every level and work in business. For the first time, business understands that you are the generation that matters. You are the ones that are going to demand what you expect from your products, and what goes into them, how much they pay their workers. You are going to be able to not just vote, but vote with your consumer choices. What happened when the CEO of Uber was on an economic advisory committee early on in the Trump administration? People said they didn't like it. They didn't use their voice. They deleted apps. That's what you can do. And if you don't think that's on the horizon of the business community into thinking what they're doing, then look at what's happening with impact investment. Look at what's happening with businesses today, knowing they have to wear their core values on their sleeves or you won't come and work for them, and the best and the brightest will turn to someone else, and you will be acting as consumers and make significant change in their profitability. Now, I'm not suggesting they're bad people, but their measure of success is not saving lives, it's making money. So let's figure out how your power puts money makers at a place that they share your core values and provide the services and products that you know are going to keep us healthier and more sustainable. I don't have any problem with that. So if you want to know what to do to be successful today and where you should go, maintain your mission-driven self. Do not deny your ability to make change. Think about the ways in which change can happen. I am now advising a private equity firm out of New York City. I know nothing about the business sector. I do now. I've learned a few things. But my point is, there is no distinction between where you can make a difference, whether it's as a public sector employee, whether it's the federal government or a local government, whether it's a nonprofit, or whether it's the business sector. Each of them have languages, and each of them have processes where you can make a difference. My success in government was all about not coloring between the lines. I recognize that even as an environmental person, I had to worry about the economy because people care about eating and putting food on the table just as much as they care about whether the planet is safe and their kids have a safe future. Think about your opportunity today to make a difference. It is everywhere. And do me a favor. When you go out in the real world and you talk about these things, my success relied on my ability to communicate science and difficult facts in a way that people can absorb it. My success was all about not speaking, but listening. My success was not designing the perfect answer. It was designing the perfect engagement strategy. Because you are all about not just yourself, but about your team. You're about changing the dynamics. President Obama, when he realized we had trouble with climate change, he brought together, and he actually formed a climate cabinet. He made Jack Lew, the treasurer, talk about the economic problems. He made Sally Jewell talk about the threat to natural resources and biodiversity. He made everybody work together in their own camp to speak to the issue, but also work together as a team because we're in a system. Everything we do is about a system. And so there is wonderful opportunities at each step in that system for you to make a difference in the world. You just can't lose the edge about what you care about and what your core values are, and you cannot get discouraged. Today, there's difficulties in Washington, but you have to step back and say, look at the marches that have happened. I haven't broken up my tie-dyed shirts and bell-bottoms in a very long time. So let's stop worrying about what other people are doing, and let's find our own power. Let's find our own voice. You have a voice that is more powerful than you can ever imagine, and you have ways in which your voice can be heard. So do me a favor. Pull up your big boy pants. Pull up your big girl pants. Pull up your gender neutral pants. Wear them proud and act. That's what you have to do. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. You're taking away from the Q&A time, and I went 2 minutes over, and I'm really ticked off. Okay. I have a lot of questions. Who would like to be the first person to answer? There's a microphone right here if you want to just scoot up there. I can tell you all the secrets that you want to know. Yes.
Wonderful. Good morning, Gina.
Morning.
It's a pleasure to hear you speak. I heard you speak last year at the American Public Health Association conference, and it's wonderful to hear you again today. So I'm one of those nonprofit people working mostly at the local level and at the state level on smoke-free indoor air laws.
Yeah.
And in the past, I know that we've had some challenges at EPA, and now they're even more difficult. But there's always been wonderful staff.
That's right.
We can always find wonderful people within the organization. So just wondering what advice you would give to me and to others here about trying to work in these offices despite the challenges that we may think are at the top level.
Well, you know, I think people don't realize who don't work in government where all the work actually gets done, and it is the career staff. You know, the political appointees want to put their thumb on it in terms of what policies they want to enact. But EPA has always been filled with 15,000 of the most wonderful mission-driven individuals ever. And I can remember when I worked at the local level where I learned how to communicate, because if you don't, you die. That's about it, because you're so close to the people that stop you in the grocery store and talk about their septic systems. It wasn't fun, but It was enlightening. And then I worked at the state level. I worked for 6 governors. 5 of them were Republicans. So don't tell me you can't make progress on the environment when you have difficult or different ideas about politicians. You know why? Because Republicans have this quirky thing. They like clean air. And they get really ticked off when they can't deliver it because people tell them they like it. And they're the ones that vote for them. So you can make progress. And during the George Bush administration, they did very little work at EPA that actually was fulfilling the mission of the agency. So when we took over, we had a lot of work to do. But I worked at state government during those times, and in the closet were 15,000 people giving us the ability to make progress at the state level, which forced and provided a platform to make progress at the federal level. And it actually sends signals to the innovators and entrepreneurs about what this country cares about and what can succeed. So there is always an opportunity in the public sector to make progress. You just sometimes need to have it more measured. Sometimes you need to hide when you're doing good work, and that's okay too, but it can be terrific. Hello.
Hi, Gina. Congrats on the Red Sox.
Well, not last night or this morning. Oh, my God.
All right, you got 2 games in 1.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Herman. I'm the head of the Center for Sustainable Finance at Presidio Graduate School. We focus on, whoop it up.
Yeah.
We focus on systems thinking, systems design, and systems action. So to the extent you could talk about, you are a multi-sector impact person. You have impact in government, and now impact in business, and in finance and investing. And part of that impact can be how to integrate financial instruments into climate action.
Yep.
So like climate action plans for cities don't have financing plans, for example. So we're going to help City of Oakland do that. DC Water has implemented an environmental impact bond. So what policies and financial instruments can facilitate more climate action?
Thanks for the question. You know, one of the other things I do is I'm on the board of the Connecticut Green Bank, because part of the challenge with the future is to make sure that everybody can be part of it. One of the ways in which we do that is to try to use different financial instruments in order to expand access to renewable energy and energy efficiency. Everything that we do in life has yin and yangs. It impacts systems in different ways. I right now am spending my time at Harvard integrating health into those decisions as well, because I think ultimately climate change isn't about polar bears, it's about my grandson. You may disagree, but you have your own face that you can put on it. It's not a far away, distant thing. So I think that there are opportunities in the financial world to figure out how you can participate in the same type of system. There's, we just talked about APHA, the health community can get involved, and there are ways in which you can have answers to systems that benefit every single portion or cog in that wheel. That's what you look for. I'm talking about health and climate because it's very easy to see that what you do to improve public health, you would take a similar approach to climate. And if you can find financial instruments that deliver those solutions in ways that are broaden the impact, that's what you have to do. So it's marrying all those things together, and it's not respecting bureaucratic boundaries. I'm a hideous disrespecter of bureaucratic boundaries. No, I'm an excellent disrespecter of bureaucratic boundaries. And I try every day not to respect those.
Hi, my name is Julie Lim. I'm a business student at the University of California, Irvine. And as a student, what are some actionables that we can do? And also, do you ever come to speak at universities? Just wondering.
Yes, I do. That is my second career is doing that because I think that you guys hold all the cards. I just think you don't know it. And so I love to come to universities. It's my favorite thing. There are 2 things about speaking to young people. One is I go to try to motivate them to act because I do believe that their voices matter even today. And if I talk to business leaders, that's what they tell me. And I know that government doesn't do everything well. And especially today, if the federal government isn't acting, other things can take its place. The business community isn't happy with this administration. Their business world is so uncertain that they're changing the dynamics in the business community, so the bad guys are now winning more than the good guys, and the good guys don't like it. So there's all kinds of dynamics. But the other reason I go is that you have such a small window of understanding about ebbs and flows. I just don't want you to think that what we're doing today is going to last. I want you to understand that you can change that direction and you have a voice. So of course I go to universities, and we talk about the things that are available to them. There's all kinds of environmental committees, climate committees. At Harvard, they just started a climate leadership. They're going to be driving the new president of Harvard crazy about disinvestment. I think that's fun. That's a good thing to do. And they're going to be trying to create a systems education so that climate isn't just stuck in one place, but it's integrated into everything. You can do remarkable things, and you will do remarkable things as long as you know you can, and as long as you retain hope even in the darkest times. And you do that by hanging out together, like what you're doing today. That will energize you. Yes?
Hey, good morning. My name is Ben Burkeen. I'm from Vanderbilt's Owen Graduate School of Management. And speaking of energizing, you've got me fired up on a Saturday morning. And I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit to your leadership style and your passion and how you've been able to sustain this energy for so many years, especially when you get discouraged.
Yeah, it has been a lot of years. You know, I am a really feisty Irish woman. You know, I come from the city of Boston. You kick me down, and I'm going to pop right back up. And so I think the thing that I've always tried to do, and my undergraduate degree was in social anthropology. Now, it didn't really fit well with the jobs market at the time and still doesn't. However, what I realized when I took that was, I really studied about primitive cultures, and I realized two things. I love people. I do not shy away from controversy. If there's a tough issue where there's vehemence on all sides, I'm right in the middle of that to try to figure out what's motivating people. Where is there a disconnect? How do you make a solution that actually connects those dots? So in terms of my leadership style, I think that you know, I think social anthropology and the study of primitive societies was good for me as an entree into government. Especially work with Congress. There's nothing more primitive than that is. But you learn the lingo. You understand how to talk to people. My leadership style was to never dictate the answer. It was always to understand how people perceive the problem. It was never to be alone. It was always to have career staff. At EPA, they drove me crazy. They're a little militaristic because they're a big agency. You know, the bigger it is, the more bureaucratic it is. And you find this, the private sector is no different. I used to force people to come to the table and disrespect the boundaries because I knew that the political appointees didn't know anything compared to the senior team and the career staff. So I used to force them to talk and sit at the table. I used to force the lawyers to talk about policy and the scientists to talk about the law, because unless they can figure out these issues together, it doesn't work. So I'm a leader from in front because I like to motivate folks and tell them where we're going. But my leadership style is team, collaboration, lots of listening, and outreach to beat the band. Because I need to sell anything I do to every one of those constituencies that disagreed. Their voices need to be reflected in the answer, and while nobody will win on everything, if you respect them in the process and listen, they will go along. And that's how it works.
Great, thank you.
I think we have time for one last question. It'll be quick.
Oh, good, one last person.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I go to the University of Virginia, Darden School of Business. Oh, yay. My question is, actually, I feel like your answer is going to be just suck it up and do it. But some of my friends and some of my girlfriends and I have been talking about, you know, running for office, things we want to do for change. But we see that it's so vicious for women in the election cycle. And I'm just curious what, like, advice you have for that.
Well, you know, our government can be very difficult, and I actually don't think it's been much more difficult than it is today. So you're not wrong. But my answer is exactly what you said. It is honestly, you have to recognize in any atmosphere, business or otherwise, that there are rules of the game that you don't like. And you're going to have to insulate yourself from that. You're going to have the confidence to surround yourself by people who love you and will boost you up. You cannot take anything personally. You have to keep your eye on the prize, what you're trying to accomplish. The getting there is not the fun part. The being there is, because you can make a difference. So suck it up. Thank you, everybody.